There's someone walking through their days, carrying a secret they've never spoken aloud. A truth they've tried to rationalize away, tried to bury beneath new relationships, new routines, new versions of themselves. But it surfaces at the strangest moments, when they're laughing with friends and suddenly feel hollow, when they're with someone new and notice themselves measuring every interaction against a memory, when they achieve something meaningful and their first instinct is to reach for a phone number they deleted months ago. The secret is this: they still believe you're the only person who ever truly saw them, not just looked at them, not just learned their story or memorized their favorite things. Saw them the way a lighthouse sees a ship in the darkness, with clarity, with purpose, with the kind of recognition that says, I know where you are. I understand the waters you're navigating. I see the destination you're trying to reach, even when you can't name it yourself. If you're watching this, something has been tugging at your awareness. Maybe you've caught yourself wondering about them lately. Maybe you've had dreams that left you unsettled. Maybe you've felt their energy shifting in ways you can't explain, but somehow sense. Maybe their name keeps appearing on a billboard, in a song, whispered by a stranger's conversation you happen to overhear. Maybe you've been feeling inexplicably emotional, touched by memories you thought you'd made peace with. You're not imagining it. The veil between souls who've truly understood each other is thinner than most people realize. When someone is holding you in their consciousness with the kind of intensity that comes from recognizing they lost something irreplaceable, you feel it. Your body feels it. Your spirit feels it. Even when your mind tries to convince you you're projecting or overthinking or living in the past, what I'm about to share with you isn't about rekindling anything or making a particular outcome happen. This is about understanding what's actually occurring in the invisible spaces between souls, because whether you and this person ever speak again or remain permanently separate, what they're experiencing right now is reshaping both of your journeys in ways you need to understand. This person is going through something specific. It's not just missing you. It's not just regret. It's not even just nostalgia for what was. It's a dawning, devastating realization that the way you understood them, the effortless, intuitive, soul-deep way you knew them, might have been a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. And they're testing that theory against every new person they meet, every new connection they attempt to build, and the theory keeps proving true. Nobody understands them the way you did. They're trying. God, they're trying so hard to be understood by others, to find that depth again, to create that kind of knowing with someone new. They're showing up vulnerably. They're communicating clearly. They're giving people chances and time and access to their inner world. But something fundamental is missing, and they're starting to accept what that missing piece is. It's you. Not because you're somehow superior to everyone else, but because whatever alchemy existed between your soul and theirs created a language that can't be replicated, can't be taught, can't be rebuilt from scratch with someone else, no matter how much effort they pour into it. And that realization is changing them in ways that ripple out far beyond thoughts of you. It's changing how they see themselves, how they approach relationships, how they understand what they actually need versus what they thought they could settle for. This is going to take some time to unpack properly. We're going to explore the layers of what it means to truly understand someone's soul, why they can't find that understanding anywhere else, what this realization is doing to them internally, what it means energetically, and what it means for you, whether you're feeling called back toward this connection or feeling certain that your path lies elsewhere. Because both of those responses are valid, and both require wisdom to navigate. If this message is landing in your spirit right now, drop a heart emoji in the comments. I want to know who's here, who needed to hear this today. I want to witness your presence in this moment, and before we go deeper, if these readings have been speaking to your soul and you want to support this work, the Super Thanks button is right there beneath this video. Your support allows me to continue creating these deep explorations for our community. It keeps this space alive for all of us who are navigating the complexity of soul-level connections. Bless you, stay with me. What we're about to uncover will change how you see this entire connection. It will change how you understand the weight of truly knowing another person. It will illuminate things you've been sensing but haven't had language for. We're going to go deep because this topic deserves depth, and your soul deserves the full truth about what's happening in the invisible realms between you and this person. This isn't going to be a quick fix or a simple answer. This is going to be a journey through the layers of soul recognition, through what it means to be someone's irreplaceable understanding, through the sacred and complicated terrain of connections that don't fit into neat categories. Let's begin. Let's start with what soul-level understanding actually means, because most people throw that phrase around without grasping its weight. They use it to describe intense chemistry or deep conversations or feeling really connected to someone. And while those things can be beautiful, they're not the same as what we're talking about here. When someone understands your soul, they're not just understanding your words or your actions. They're understanding the why beneath the why beneath the why. They're understanding the invisible architecture that shapes how you move through the world, the wounds that made you cautious, the dreams that keep you reaching, the fears you dress up as preferences, the hopes you disguise as practicality. They're understanding the through line of your life, the patterns that you yourself might not even see, the emotional logic that governs your choices, even when those choices seem contradictory to outside observers. This person you let go, they knew things about you that you never had to explain. And that's what haunts them now. That's what they're confronting in every new interaction they have. They're discovering that other people require constant translation. Someone asks them, "What's wrong?" And they have to build an explanation from scratch, laying out context and history and emotional subtext, constructing a bridge from their inner world to the other person's comprehension. They're having to draw maps of their interior landscape for people who can't quite read the terrain, who keep getting lost in the explanation, who nod along but miss the significance. And the exhaustion of that, the sheer emotional labor of constantly translating yourself, is wearing them down. But you would have known what was wrong from the shift in their text message punctuation, from the way they went quiet during a particular song, from the joke they made that was trying too hard to sound casual, from the specific way they said, "I'm fine," that meant they were anything but fine. You read the subtext like it was written in bold letters. You heard what they weren't saying. You felt what they were trying to hide. You spoke a language together that they're realizing isn't just rare, it might be singular. The language of their specific soul's dialect, with all its peculiar grammar and untranslatable idioms. The language where silence has 100 different meanings, and you knew which one applied in each moment. The language where a glance across a room communicated paragraphs. The language where you could fight and still feel understood, could disagree and still feel seen, could be messy and complicated and contradictory and never feel misinterpreted, and they're living with the growing awareness that they might have let go of the only fluent speaker. Watch how this shows up in their life. They're in conversations that should feel deep, but feel like they're speaking through glass. They're sharing themselves, really sharing, being vulnerable, opening up, and watching their vulnerability land in someone else's lap like a foreign object nobody knows what to do with. Someone might say, "I understand," but they can feel that the understanding is intellectual, not intuitive. It's someone understanding the concept of what they're saying without understanding the lived experience, the emotional weight, the specific significance it holds. They're having moments of private revelation and realizing there's literally no one they can call who would understand why this revelation matters to them specifically. Not just understand that revelations matter in general, but understand why this particular revelation is earth-shattering for them, given their history, their wounds, their growth journey, their specific soul's trajectory. It's not that the people in their life don't care. It's that caring isn't the same as understanding. Sympathy isn't the same as recognition. Empathy isn't the same as knowing. Someone can care deeply about your pain without understanding the specific texture of that pain. Someone can want to support you without knowing what support actually looks like for you. Someone can love you without truly knowing you. And here's what makes this so painful for them. They thought understanding was more common than it is. They thought, well, we understood each other, so that means I can find that again with someone else. It's just a matter of time and compatibility and emotional availability. They're learning, in the most visceral way possible, that no, it doesn't work like that. Understanding isn't a feature you can shop for, like shared interests or compatible life goals. Soul-level understanding isn't a feature you can find in the next person if you just look hard enough. It's not a compatibility setting you can filter for on dating apps. It's not something you can create through better communication, skills, or more intentional vulnerability, or longer getting to know you phases. It's something that emerges from 1,000 invisible factors aligning perfectly, your wounds complementing each other's healing, your communication styles interlocking like puzzle pieces designed for each other, your life experiences creating overlapping reference points, your defense mechanisms being transparent to each other, your souls just recognizing each other in that inexplicable way that defies logic and can't be manufactured. It's lightning in a bottle. And they're realizing they let the bottle go. They're scrolling through their phone sometimes, looking at all these connections, friends, family, new romantic interests, colleagues, acquaintances, and feeling achingly alone. Not because these people aren't good people, not because these relationships aren't valuable, but because good people who don't understand you can make you feel lonelier than being actually alone. Because being surrounded by people who love a version of you they've constructed, but miss the essential truth of who you are, is its own special kind of isolation. If you've ever been the person who understood someone this deeply, type "I see you" in the comments. I want you to witness your own gift being acknowledged. I want you to know that what you offered another soul, that depth of seeing, is sacred work. The brutal truth they're facing: they can have chemistry with someone new. Attraction, fun, shared interests, compatible life goals, physical intimacy, emotional availability. They can check every box on the relationship checklist and still feel like they're performing a version of themselves that nobody's actually watching. Because the audience that mattered, you, isn't there anymore. They can be in a relationship and feel fundamentally alone. They can be deeply cared for and feel unknown. They can be loved and feel unseen, because being loved isn't the same as being understood. And for some souls, for their soul, being understood isn't just a nice bonus in a relationship. It's the entire foundation. It's the thing that makes everything else meaningful. Without it, everything else feels like building a house on sand, like going through the motions of intimacy without the actual substance that intimacy transformative. They're realizing that being understood isn't about someone validating their feelings or agreeing with their perspectives or supporting their choices, though those things can be expressions of understanding. Being understood is about someone seeing the architecture of your soul and being able to navigate it like it's familiar territory. It's about someone knowing where your trapdoors are, where your secret gardens are, where your broken stairs are, where your hidden treasures are, and moving through all of it with grace and recognition. You knew that architecture. You could navigate their soul like you'd been given a map nobody else had access to. Or more accurately, like you didn't need a map because something in you just instinctively knew the way. And now that guide is gone. And they're watching other people stumble around in the dark of their interior world, bumping into walls, missing doorways, getting lost in rooms that you would have known how to find and what they meant and why they mattered. This goes deeper than they want to admit. This goes deeper than they can admit, because admitting it fully would mean confronting just how rare what you had actually was, and just how catastrophic the loss. Let's keep going. What's happening to them internally is a progressive unraveling of the story they told themselves about letting you go. See, There was probably a narrative. Maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe you wanted different things. Maybe the relationship had problems that seemed insurmountable. Maybe they convinced themselves, or you convinced each other, that parting ways was the mature, healthy decision. That you could each find something better fitted with someone else, and initially that narrative held. It made sense. They could point to specific reasons why it wasn't working, why it wasn't meant to be, why separation was necessary, but narratives require constant reinforcement, and life keeps undermining this one. Every time they try to share something meaningful with someone new and watch it land wrong, the narrative cracks a little. Every time they find themselves softening their edges, dumbing down their thoughts, explaining their feelings in ways that feel like translation rather than expression, the narrative weakens. Every time they achieve something or survive something or learn something and feel that instinctive pull to share it with you specifically, not because you're the only person in their contacts, but because you're the only person who would understand what it means, the narrative crumbles a bit more, and then one day, maybe recently, they looked at their life and realized, I'm lonelier now than I was when I was alone before I met them. Because now I know what it feels like to be truly understood, and everything else feels like an echo. That's where they are, living in the echo. Let me show you how this manifests in ways they might not even articulate. They're having successful moments, promotions, personal victories, life milestones, and feeling empty during the celebration. Because success without someone who truly understands why it matters to you specifically is just noise. It's a party where you're surrounded by people congratulating a version of you they've constructed in their minds, not the actual you who knows what this victory cost, what old wounds it healed, what secret dream it fulfilled. They're having difficult moments, losses, setbacks, disappointments, and feeling isolated in their pain. Not because people aren't offering support, but because support without understanding is just people throwing ropes into water, hoping something catches. You would have known which specific disappointment this echoed from their past. You would have known what words would actually reach them versus what platitudes would bounce off. You would have known when they needed solutions versus when they needed witnessing. They're having ordinary moments, morning routines, work days, evening wind downs, and feeling haunted. Because it's in the ordinary moments that understanding matters most. Anyone can show up for the dramatic moments. But you understood the quiet significance of their daily rituals, the meaning behind their small choices, the inner world that continued running underneath the surface of regular life. Here's what they're learning that's breaking them open. Understanding isn't just about the big conversations. It's about someone knowing what your silence means, knowing what your deflecting joke is actually saying, knowing when your "I'm fine" is true and when it's a fortress, and they keep running into the limits of other people's perception. Drop a single word in the comments describing how it feels to be deeply understood. Just one word. Let's build something together here. Someone new will ask them about their day, and they'll start to answer honestly. And they'll watch the person's attention drift after 30 seconds because the story doesn't have the shape of entertainment. It has the shape of their inner life, which only you knew how to follow. Someone will see them withdrawing and misinterpret it as disinterest, when you would have recognized it as overwhelm. Someone will try to cheer them up with solutions, when you would have known they needed validation first, solutions later, if at all. They're not blaming these other people. They're just confronting the staggering reality that what you two had was anomalous. Not special in the way we use that word to make ourselves feel good, but literally anomalous, deviating from what's standard or normal or common. And here's the thing that's really getting to them. They thought understanding could be rebuilt. That if they just communicated clearly enough with someone new, shared their history thoroughly enough, gave someone enough time to learn them, eventually, that person would understand them the way you did. But it's not working, because understanding isn't just accumulated data about a person. It's not a file that gets more complete the more information you add. Understanding is something that happens at the soul level, in the space between the words, in the resonance between two people's fundamental frequencies. You can't teach someone to resonate with you. Either they do or they don't, and they don't. Not the way you did. So this person you let go is walking around with a kind of homesickness that has no address. They're homesick for the feeling of being known. And every interaction that falls short of that knowing, which is most of them, reinforces what they lost. They're trying to convince themselves it doesn't matter. That understanding is overrated. That passion or stability or practical compatibility or shared goals matter more. That they can have a perfectly good life with someone who doesn't quite get them, as long as that person is kind, committed, present. And maybe that's true. Maybe they can. But late at night, when the noise of the day settles and they're alone with themselves, they know the truth. They don't want a perfectly good life with someone who's learning to understand them. They want the life they could have had with the person who already did. You. If you've been sensing this person's energy lately, maybe thinking about them more, feeling their presence, having vivid dreams, type "I feel it" in the comments. The energetic connection between souls who understood each other doesn't break just because the relationship did. We need to go deeper still, because what they're experiencing isn't just nostalgia or regret. It's something more profound, and you need to understand it. Stay close. Here's what's happening that they haven't fully articulated, maybe not even to themselves. They're grieving a mirror. When someone truly understands your soul, they function as a mirror, not in the superficial sense of reflecting back what you show them, but in the profound sense of helping you see yourself clearly. You know those moments when you're trying to explain something you're feeling and you can't quite find the words, and then someone says, "Is it like this?" And suddenly you can see your own interior landscape clearly, because they just named it. That was you for them. You helped them understand themselves. You witnessed them in ways that made them more real to themselves. You asked questions that opened doors they didn't know existed inside themselves. You saw patterns in their behavior they couldn't see. You recognized their gifts before they did. You called out their defenses gently enough that they could actually hear it. When you understand someone's soul, you don't just know them, you help them know themselves. And now that mirror is gone. They're trying to understand themselves without you. And it's like trying to cut their own hair without being able to see the back of their head. They're making decisions and second-guessing themselves more. They're having feelings and not quite trusting their interpretation of them. They're experiencing life events and wondering what they mean because you're not there to help them process the significance. Other people try. God, they try. Friends offer perspectives. New partners share observations. Therapists ask probing questions. But it's not the same, and here's why. You weren't just observing them from the outside. You had access. They gave you access to the rooms in themselves they don't show anyone. And more importantly, you understood what you found there. You didn't need them to clean up those rooms or apologize for the mess or explain why things were arranged the way they were. You just walked in and said, "Oh, I see what you've been doing here. I see what this is." That kind of witnessing is irreplaceable. And they're discovering that being in a relationship where you're not truly understood is like being in a relationship where you're partially visible. The other person loves the parts of you they can see, but whole dimensions of your existence are just invisible to them. Not because they're not looking, but because they don't have eyes for those particular dimensions. You had eyes for their particular dimensions. Here's what's been happening to them emotionally. First, there was relief after letting you go. Whatever problems existed between you stopped being problems. The difficulty ended. The tension released. They could breathe again. Then there was optimism. They dated, made new connections, told themselves they could find this again, maybe even find it better. This was just a learning experience, a chapter closing so a better one could open. Then there was confusion. Why did these new connections, even the promising ones, feel flat? Why did conversations that should be fulfilling feel exhausting? Why did intimacy that should be satisfying feel lonely? Then there was comparison. They started measuring everyone against you, not even intentionally, but reflexively. The way this person laughs versus how you laughed. The way this person responds to their vulnerability versus how you responded. The way this person sees them versus how you saw them. Then there was frustration. With themselves for comparing. With others for not measuring up to a comparison that wasn't even fair. With you for having ruined them for the kind of shallow understanding that used to be enough before they knew what depth was possible. Then there was grief. Real heavy, complicated grief for something they chose to lose. For a kind of understanding they might never find again. For the version of themselves that existed in your witnessing. And now, right now, they're in a strange space of acceptance mixed with longing. They accept that what you had was real. They accept that it was rare. They accept that they might not find it again. But they haven't accepted that they're okay with that. They're not okay with that. If you're feeling the weight of being someone's soul-level understanding, whether you're with them or not, type, "I carry this," in the comments. Let's honor the sacredness of truly seeing another person. And listen, if this is resonating deeply, if this is giving you clarity or comfort or confirmation, the super thanks button is there. These long-form explorations take time and energy to create, and your support keeps this work alive. Thank you. What they believe about you now has shifted from what they believed when you were together. Back then, they knew you understood them, but they took it for granted the way you take for granted that the ground will hold you when you walk. You don't think about the ground until it's not there anymore. Now they think about the ground constantly. They think about you constantly, not in the obsessive way of wanting you back, necessarily, though that might be mixed in too, but in the mourning way of having lost something. They can't adequately describe to anyone else, because how do you explain to someone who's never experienced soul level understanding what you've lost? How do you make someone comprehend the specific loneliness of being surrounded by people who care about you, but don't truly know you? You can't. It sounds dramatic. It sounds like you're idealizing the past. It sounds like you're not giving new people a fair chance. So they stop trying to explain it. They just carry it quietly. But here's what they haven't stopped believing, and this is crucial. They believe that if they could just talk to you, really talk to you, you would understand what they're going through right now. That's the kicker. Even the experience of missing your understanding is an experience they wish they could share with you, because you're the only person who would understand it. You're the subject and the solution. The loss and the only person who could comprehend the loss. That's the loop they're caught in. And energetically, whether they're reaching out to you or not, whether they've said a word or stayed silent, whether they're trying to move on or actively looking back, their soul is oriented toward you. Not in the way of weakness or inability to stand alone, but in the way of true recognition. Their soul knows yours. And once a soul knows another soul that deeply, that knowledge doesn't just evaporate because circumstances change. They could meet 100 new people, fall in love, build a whole life, and somewhere in them, a part will always be calibrated to your frequency, always listening for a signal only you can send, always remembering what it felt like to be fully understood. That's not romantic. That's not even about romance. That's just the truth about souls who truly meet each other. Now the question becomes, what does this mean for you? Let's talk about what you do with this information. Because knowing that someone still holds you as their soul-level understanding comes with responsibility, whether you want it or not. First, you need to get clear on what you actually want. This isn't about them right now. This is about you. Separate from their feelings, their beliefs, their journey. What do you want? Do you want reconnection? Do you want closure? Do you want to honor what was and keep moving forward? Do you want space to figure it out? You get to want what you want. You get to choose what you choose. The fact that they believe you understood their soul doesn't obligate you to anything. But you need to be honest with yourself about what's actually alive in you. Are you feeling drawn back toward them? Be honest. Not should I be drawn back, but am I? There's no wrong answer, but there is such a thing as lying to yourself about the answer. Are you feeling complete with what was? Be honest. Do you feel like that chapter gave you what it needed to give you, and now you're genuinely ready for something different? Or are you telling yourself that story because it feels like the healthy, evolved thing to say? Are you feeling confused? That's valid too. You can hold both. That connection was sacred, and I don't know if returning to it is right. You can hold both. I miss who we were together, and I've grown into someone who might need something different now. Get clear. Sit with yourself, no distractions, no external voices, no shoulds, and ask, what is true for me about this person and this connection? Second, understand that soul-level understanding is a gift, not a contract. You gave them the gift of truly seeing them. That gift was real. It mattered. It shaped them. But the gift doesn't mean you owe them your presence forever. The gift doesn't mean the relationship was meant to last forever just because the understanding was profound. Sometimes we understand someone perfectly and still can't be with them. Sometimes the understanding is real and the incompatibility is also real. Sometimes you can see someone's soul clearly and also see clearly that your paths are meant to diverge. This is important. You being the person who understood them best doesn't automatically mean you're the person who's best for them long term. And it definitely doesn't mean they're automatically best for you. So honor what was true. The understanding was real without letting that truth trap you in obligation. Third, if you're feeling their energy, trust that. Souls that connected at that depth don't just stop communicating because mouths stop speaking. If you've been thinking about them more lately, if they're showing up in your dreams, if you're feeling inexplicable pulls in their direction, that's information. That's not random. That's not you being weak or stuck in the past. That's your soul responding to their soul's signal. Now, what you do with that information is your choice. You can acknowledge it and still choose not to reach out. You can honor the connection and still maintain your boundaries. You can feel the pull and decide that what you're being pulled toward is closure, not reunion. But don't dismiss the energetic reality just because it doesn't fit the story you're trying to tell yourself about being over it. If you're someone who senses energy and soul communication, type "I trust the unseen" in the comments. Let's validate each other's spiritual sensitivity. Fourth, consider what completion actually looks like for this connection. Maybe completion is a conversation. Maybe it's a letter you write but never send. Maybe it's a prayer you speak over them. Maybe it's a conscious releasing ceremony you do alone. Maybe it's nothing external at all, just an internal settling that happens when you finally accept all of what this connection was and all of what it wasn't. But here's what completion isn't. It's not pretending the depth wasn't real. It's not minimizing what you shared. It's not forcing yourself to forget them so you can move on. It's not performing detachment you don't actually feel. Real completion includes the depth. It says, yes, we understood each other in ways that were rare and real. And now I'm choosing what comes next from a place of honoring that truth, not running from it. Fifth, if you're moving forward into new connections, don't let this make you cynical. Just because soul-level understanding is rare doesn't mean you should stop being open. Just because what you had with this person was unique doesn't mean you can't have something equally meaningful, though different, with someone else. The human heart has an incredible capacity for multiple kinds of profound love. You can honor that this person understood your soul in a way no one else has, and remain open to someone understanding different aspects of your soul in ways that might surprise you. Don't let the rarity of what you had make you close off. Let it make you appreciative when depth shows up in new forms. Sixth, know that choosing not to return doesn't make you cruel. If you're clear that reunion isn't your path, even understanding that they still see you as the person who truly understood them, you're not abandoning them. You're not betraying the connection. You're not being cold, you're being honest. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone who understands you is be honest about what you need. Even if that honesty disappoints them, they'll survive your honesty. They won't survive you staying in something you don't want out of guilt or obligation. That's not understanding, that's pity. And trust me, they don't want to be your pity project. Seventh, if you are feeling drawn to reconnect, move slowly and consciously. Understanding isn't enough to build a relationship on, even though it's profound. You need to also assess, have the circumstances that created distance changed? Have both of you grown in ways that might make reunion possible now, when it wasn't before? Are you both willing to do the work of addressing what didn't work the first time? Soul-level understanding can coexist with dysfunction. It can coexist with incompatibility. It can coexist with toxic patterns. Don't let the beauty of being understood blind you to the other realities that also need to be addressed. If you're going to return to this connection, return consciously. Return with your eyes open. Return with clear agreements and honest conversations about what would need to be different. Eighth, take care of your own soul in this process. Whether you're moving toward them or away from them or somewhere in between, make sure you're also being understood. Make sure you have people in your life who see you, who get you, who witness your journey with clarity. You can't pour endlessly from an empty cup. You can't be someone's soul-level mirror if your own soul is parched for recognition. Find your people. Find your practices. Find the spaces where you feel seen. Not so you can move on from this person necessarily, but so you can move forward in your own life from a place of fullness, not depletion. Drop "I honor my journey" in the comments if you're committing to taking care of your own soul while you navigate this. Finally, trust your own discernment. You know what this connection was. You know what it wasn't. You know what's alive in you and what's just echoes of the past. You know whether distance is protection or avoidance. You know whether reunion would be healing or regression. You know, under all the confusion, under all the what-ifs, under all the external voices telling you what you should do, you know, trust that knowing. Even if it changes, even if it takes time to clarify, even if it leads you somewhere unexpected, your soul knows the next right step. Even if that step is to stay still for a while longer and let things continue unfolding. So where does this leave you? It leaves you holding a truth that's both beautiful and complicated. Someone out there still sees you as the person who understood their soul in ways no one else has. That's not small. That's not insignificant. That's not something to dismiss or minimize, but it also leaves you with your agency intact. Their belief about you doesn't determine your path. Their longing for your understanding doesn't obligate you to provide it. Their journey of discovering how rare that depth was doesn't mean you have to return to it. You get to hold the sacredness of what you shared and still choose your own direction. Here's what I want you to understand. Whether you and this person ever reconnect or spend the rest of your lives apart, what you gave them by understanding their soul was a gift that keeps teaching them. You expanded their awareness of what's possible in human connection. You showed them what it feels like to be truly seen. You helped them understand themselves more deeply. That gift doesn't disappear just because you're not together anymore. It becomes part of who they are, part of how they move through the world, part of what they'll eventually look for and maybe even offer to others. You change them by understanding them. That change is permanent. That impact is real, and the same is true in reverse. They changed you by allowing you to understand them so fully, by trusting you with their depths. By receiving your seeing without deflecting it, that sacred ground you walk together. Holy ground. Red ground, and here's what I'm sensing for some of you. This awareness coming to the surface isn't random. You're becoming conscious of their belief, that you understood their soul uniquely because there's something for you to integrate or decide or complete. Maybe you need to finally release them fully. Maybe you need to reach out for honest conversation. Maybe you need to forgive yourself for letting go of something so rare. Maybe you need to forgive yourself for considering going back. Maybe you just need to acknowledge internally, yes, what we had was real. Yes, it was rare. And yes, I'm still finding my way forward. Whatever needs to happen for your soul's next evolution, this awareness is part of it. If you're ready to trust where this is leading you, even without knowing exactly where that is, type "I'm ready" in the comments. For those of you who are feeling overwhelmed by all of this, by the depth, the complexity, The weight of being someone's soul-level understanding. I want to offer you some gentleness. You don't have to figure it all out right now. You don't have to make definitive decisions today. You don't have to have perfect clarity about what this all means or where it's all going. You just have to be honest with yourself. You just have to honor what's true. You just have to take the next right step when it becomes clear. Soul-level connections don't follow linear timelines. They don't fit into neat categories of together or apart, over or ongoing. They exist in the liminal spaces, the both and, the already, not yet. You can honor the connection and choose distance. You can feel the pull and decide not to follow it. You can understand someone's soul and still release them to their own journey. You can miss what was and be genuinely excited about what's coming. All of that can be true at once. And for those of you who are considering reconnection, who are feeling that pull and wondering if you should trust it, ask yourself this. If I reached out or returned to this connection, would I be doing it from a place of fullness or emptiness? From a place of genuine desire or guilty obligation? From a place of clear vision or nostalgic fog? The answer matters. It matters a lot. Reconnection from fullness can be beautiful. Reconnection from emptiness usually just recreates the problems that cause separation in the first place. Be honest. Be brave, be discerning. Your soul knows the difference. And listen, if this journey through understanding what this person believes about you has touched something deep, if you want to support the creation of content like this, the Super Thanks button is there. This work is my offering, and your support allows me to keep diving deep for our community. Bless you. I want to leave you with this. Being the person who understood someone's soul is one of the most profound gifts you can give another human being. You offered them the experience of being fully seen, fully known, fully witnessed. That's rare, that's powerful, that's holy. And whether you continue being that person for them or not, the fact that you were that person changed both of your lives permanently. You raised the bar for what human connection can be. You showed each other that depth is possible. You proved that souls can recognize each other across all the noise and pretense and performance that usually clouds human interaction. That's not nothing. That's everything. So thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to see someone so fully. Thank you for being open enough to be seen so fully. Thank you for creating the kind of connection that even in absence continues teaching, continues shaping, continues mattering. Not everyone gets to experience soul-level understanding in their lifetime. You did, they did. Together, you created that space. However your paths unfold from here, together or separately, reconnected or released, resolved or still unfolding, what you shared remains real, remains sacred, remains part of both of your soul's histories. You understood them. They know it. They feel it. They believe it, and that believing, that knowing they were truly understood by you will light their path forward whether you're walking beside them or watching from a distance. Drop a word of encouragement in the comments for anyone else navigating the complexity of soul-level understanding. Let's lift each other up. Trust your path. Honor your truth. Take your time. Your soul knows what's next, and so does theirs. Bless you on this journey. Thank you for being here.